Japanese.
قديش عمرك؟
4 سنين.
We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, you start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
You all see my shirt, it says, little boys' lives matter. And why I'm bringing this up is first and most important to say to all of you watching that in the last 20 years, you've seen this progressive attitude change about a specific gender, that it's no longer about the equality between men and women, that it is about a woman, all powerful, all important, and that the boy is now being chunked out of the equation in a family unit. They're being chunked from importance in how our culture is being projected and how it's being taught to our children, to our future generations. And I say this about little boys because I look at the fact that it took a child being hurt like Omar Dagnish for our world to realize that all children matter. All human life should matter. And that's boys as well as girls. And they don't do that on television, they don't do it in movies. And it's a shameful fact of reality that the attitude of Me Too is in itself a lie, because they're saying that women have the power to do whatever they want, and that includes lying about things that never happened, training and teaching girls from the day they're born to say to themselves, you're not lying when you say or make up something, as long as it helps our movement, it helps our gender, makes us look better than everybody else, and that's not right. If anything, it's immorally wrong, because you're teaching children that when you say a fib or you say something that's untrue, that it's not wrong. And from this point, I'm going to move forward to what's happening in America today and around the world about these protests. The news people are now bringing up the fact that there are companies that have had products on the shelves for 100+ years, and now they're saying Well, we're gonna phase them out, and it's because they believe that this revolution, that blacks should be supreme, they should be the only race that matters. It's going even beyond the scope of racial equality. It's about the subjugation of individuals and how we live and what we believe. This is the foundations of humanity, because now they're attacking people's legal right to believe what they want to believe, to live the way they want to. And folks, this is a foreshadow of what Barack Obama kept saying for 8 years as president. This was his change that he instigated through socialism, through communism. And they are the foundations, they are the background architects of what's happening in this country, and that is to destroy our liberties and our freedoms in this country. And I put this question to you, the viewer. When will this end? And I'm saying, where do they draw the line about people's rights to live, to believe what they want to? Because the blacks are saying essentially that they legally have the right to overpower the United States Constitution when it comes to a person's individual freedoms. Because they're saying, well, you can't say that, you can't live that way, you can't this, that, because they find it offensive. But then there is no equality to say that whites have as much right to do that themselves, because that's not part of the equation anymore. Everything is now geared at what do we do to pacify a black person, but not that any other race that lives in this country, and I'm saying whites specifically, that they should matter at all. And that's what the blacks are doing. They're tearing down the legal rights as all citizens of America have to be who they are and to believe what they want to believe. And that's what they're tearing down. They're going after the basic humane rights as individual human beings, and they're tearing down the logistic legality of who each individual person is. And the blacks are the platform. They are the premise of what the socialist communist viewpoint is of globalism. You devalue a person below the level of an animal, and you say you don't have rights, because now it's about the full equation of everybody. Specifically now it's for the blacks. Then you say long term, all of this is going to be worked out because nobody is going to have anything anymore. You're going to just be a number. You're going to be a statistic. You're not going to be an individual. And all of this shadows the idea of what the Bible talks about. When you are placed in that position as a non-human entity, the artificial intelligence can then be introduced into society and say, now that you are a global citizen, now you have to comply and conform to what we say, and that's the New World Order. And then, with you being devalued and seeing yourself devalued, they come into it and start saying things that the Bible said would happen, which is, now you have to take a mark of identification to prove that you are loyal to this philosophy of the world government saying, you live this way, now you conform and you accept a mark identifying that you accept this philosophy. And if people don't see this coming, people don't look at it from the concept of what is the New World Order, and that they're going to use every chance and every opportunity they can to progressively advance it forward. And the fact that they're using this black revolution idea as tantamount to to the destruction of every human being, to the values that we've always cherished as human beings, you don't see that happening, then you're blinded by what Obama kept saying through his utopia. These are the changes that so many loyalists and worshipers of Barack Obama still adhere to. And if you're listening to this video, you ought to be seeing it from that reality standpoint, that this is their in-game scenario for communism and socialism. Devalue you, destroy you as a person, and then you are a zombie, a walking dead person. And then you become these TV shows that just kind of like catapulted themselves on audiences in the last 5-10 years, like Walking Dead, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, all these others. All of that stuff had one end game outcome: to brainwash people to believe they're nothing. And then they just come right in and they take it away and they say, now 2020, we're standing to the next phase of this whole process. And now they're giving the groups that up until this point they had acceptance and tolerance for other people's opinions, other people's viewpoints. Now they're saying that's gone. You're no longer an individual. No longer are you a person. Because now they're saying you are going to live the way that the communists and the socialists tell us to live. And we have to take a stand. I've said that so many other times in my videos. Nobody sees reality because God said they wouldn't see reality. He said they would conform to the Antichrist, to the Imam Mahdi, to the viewpoint that we can be united if we believe what Satan has taught people to believe in all the centuries that he's been on this earth. And now Satan is basically he's coming up from the bottomless pit of where he has been with all of his fallen angels, and he's just bringing it all to fruition about this is his final end game project. It's going to be the end of humanity. And God said also that when these things take place, if God had not intervened, he said there would be no human life left on earth. That means there's going to be very few people alive once all of this stuff happens, because there's going to be natural disasters that'll wipe us all out. That includes wormwood, which is a meteor that's going to wipe out all the fresh water. You can call me a religious fanatic, whatever, folks, but one day you're going to wake up and realize it's happening. And by that time, hopefully, Lord willing, the rapture is going to happen, and there's not going to be anybody here to teach you anything, because you're not going to have that option anymore. All you're going to have is Obama telling you from on high in Jerusalem, he is your Messiah, he is your God, he is your hope. And that's what the Bible also said would happen. The Antichrist will convince people that he is Jesus having come back to earth. And you don't have to hear Obama say these things to see it happening and how he's working all of this stuff out. And you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. That means you can show people the reality of it all happening, but you can't make them accept it. But let me say this. The communists and the socialists are using that analogy to say, now the blacks can tell you, you will accept, you will believe, because they're forcing their whole philosophies on society. And they have so many people believing it that they are totally oblivious to it all. They don't want to hear it, they don't want to see it, and as surely as what God said would happen, it's true. They don't want to see it, so they refuse to see it. And I say again, Lord Jesus, come quickly, because who knows what will be next in the agenda of blacks. Will they end this whole thing when the police departments no longer exist? When the police departments do not take actions against blacks who commit crimes? Or will it progress beyond that, where the black comes to your door and says, we don't like you, and then they shoot you and there is nobody there to protect you? Or that they say, you got something on your car we don't approve of, and they'll have the legal right to have you charged and arrested just because you have an opinion, not that you've acted out anything. That's what that guy says at the beginning of my videos. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions and not speech. And we're beyond that now. The blacks prove that. Now they're telling you all, they're telling me, you, everybody. We decide now what's going to happen. And who gave him that power? Who gave him that right to say these things? Barack Obama himself did that. The handwriting's on the wall. See it, believe it, accept it, or deny it, and just live out what's left of humanity until everything is gone and then there's nobody left. But I know God said there will be some people left when this whole mess ends. But you know what? I wouldn't want to be here when all that stuff goes on. It's called the Great Tribulation, because God said it will be so horrible. It has never happened on earth before, and it'll never happen again. He says these years, that 7-year reign of the Antichrist, Obama, it will annihilate more than half of all humanity, because Satan is going to attack humanity itself. He's going to wipe out everybody who's still left, who gets saved after the rapture. And that's what Obama will do. He will say, you will accept him as your God, or he'll have you executed. And the Bible said that too. So folks, these things progress down a straight line to reality, to an end. And now is the time, folks, for us all to stand up for our individual rights before the blacks take everything away from us, before they start telling you, you are now my slave, you are now what we will say you are. And that's what Obama gave them when he was president. He promised all of them, you vote me into office and I'll pay you a check to do nothing. And that's what happened. And they were so ecstatic for 8 years. And it's only the beginning. That's what God told us. He said, these things must take place. Be not overwhelmed. Be not concerned with these things. He says, it's got to happen, because this is what God's plan is. It has to complete itself. But folks, because it's going to be completed doesn't mean it's going to be a bed of roses. This thing is going to be so horrible. Anybody who has a child right now, God says, woe unto them. He's talking about abortion, but he's talking about so many other things. And what are they doing to children now? It's almost to the point where they are sacrificing their own children for things that, you know, we thought were barbaric things done by the Mayans and these ancient Aztec civilizations, where they would take the children and put them on altars and torch them and do all these brutalities to them. We're doing that right now. In this country, in the world, they're doing that. And all of these things has been written out and put in the Bible. So get it out and read it while you still can. Because Obama, besides eradicating Christians, Obama is going to eradicate the Bible. He'll take it away. He'll make it illegal. He'll make it a crime for somebody to have a Bible, to read it. And you know what? The Quran is a violent religion because they act out their actions. Christianity teaches peace and love for each other. But that's not what the politicians are doing. They're condemning Christians. They're condemning everything that was America and saying, well, this stuff doesn't work. It's wrong. It's perverted. It isn't perverted. The perversion is in yourself because you want to see only what Satan is showing you, folks. This is the horror of the Communist, Socialist, Democratic Party. And we don't have too much time left, folks, to do something. We must stand united, hand in hand together, and say, we will not stop being Americans. We will not let this protest revolution destroy who and what we are as individuals. And we will not let them take it away from us. Because I know a lot of people in this country will fight for their rights. And it's time for you to say, yes, I will stand and I will fight as an American citizen. Not as an illegal, not as a Muslim, not as a black, but as an American. Because if we all are equal, folks, nobody is equal. Nobody will ever be equal, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't look at everybody. That is the perversion of Black Lives Matter. I'm trying to say to you, if you're any other race but a black, your life means nothing. And that's what Obama is trying to tell you through his Black Lives Matter etiquette. And he's going to keep pushing it until the very end. So do something. Do something. Now. Do something. Stop Obama. Stop communism. Stop socialism. Stop this whole thing from progressing. Yeah, maybe it's all useless to do anything because the Bible already said it will happen, but I think God expects us to take a stand for what's right and not just crawl into a cave and hope everything works out in the end. Saddam Hussein did that. What did they do to him? They found him.
That you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. That you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
قديش عمرها؟
4 سنين.
They've reported from around the world, challenged the powerful, and they bring all of this to every story that breaks.
We've got breaking news, and it's good news.
And touches your heart.
How do you even say thank you? Thank you is not big enough.
I made this.
The images shocked the world. Relentless bombings. Stunned survivors.
I'm going to sing a song about a square, and I want you to look all around your room for one. But remember, a square has 4 straight sides, and each side is just as long as the other. And it has 4 corners that are the same size.
Famous Hollywood director Steven Spielberg goes on the offensive by releasing a sequel to his infamous sci-fi classic, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Coming this Christmas in 1978, the most talked about motion picture ever since the Star Wars holiday special. Spielberg calls the film Little Boy Lost. It is a true story of a 6-year-old boy who saw and was abducted in his room one night via extraterrestrials. Now believed to have been the Pleiades, who Betty and Barney Hill saw in 1961 while driving in Vancouver, British Columbia. If you ever had any doubts about alien abduction, you won't anymore after watching this motion picture. Critics are saying this is the most intense film ever made by Spielberg since his horror classic, Jaws, in 1975. The film was based on Jay Anson's book under the same title and promises to keep the overall plot based on his teleplay. Anson is most remembered for his work in the Amityville Horror, a book that is supposedly in the works to be released in 1979 by American International Pictures. Don't be afraid, they won't hurt you is the most famous quote of this film, and you won't be sleeping anytime soon after you leave the movie theater. This film is rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Released by Columbia Pictures Industries.